Hi, I'm Ms. J, your drip strategist, boss methodologist, and host of Business Weekly. And here we do things the right way. We talk what we need to talk, we do what we need to do, and we bring the noise. I love to focus on the performance of strengthening people, especially entrepreneurs. Why? To become better at what they do. I level up your drip. That's your drive, resilience, innovation, and progression. We have to remember as entrepreneurs, we constantly need to be scaling our knowledge and our skill and capacity for scaling your empire and practical solutions for real world business obstacles. Now, we always hear the stories that inspired business, but let's talk about the stories on how people are weathering the storm. Now, being a coach, I witnessed the ups and downs of building a business, and more importantly, the roller coaster we take to get to our success. This is why I train through the drip strategy approach, because it's the tools we need to fly above the challenges, learning as we go. They say you grow through what you go through. Well, here are some major challenges that we're facing in business today. Now, I chose three top challenges that people are facing in business, specifically women. Now, I heard you, men. I heard you loud and clear in the comments. When is it going to be something for the men? Stay put, stay tuned. That is coming to a theater near you. But what are some of the things that are affecting women today in business? Well, the top three things that studies are showing is one, access to funding. It seems that women are struggling to secure investment or financing for their business. Now, there are quite a few programs out there that are now really focusing on women entrepreneurship. But why is this happening? Well, it could be due to a few things. Maybe some unconscious bias from investors or a lack of networks that typically provide funding opportunities, making it harder for women to achieve the necessary capital to grow or start their ventures. What's the next one? Well, we also have work-life integration. Now, we always hear the juggle is real. If you're a mom, if you are a wife or a significant other, or you have a relationship, you have career. Some of us, well, I should say in the past, we had jobs and businesses. Most of us are now full-time entrepreneurs. But one of the things that we're seeing is that there's that juggle. It's the ability to make sure that everything is going and your business is thriving. Now, I tell you, this is quite a challenge, and we're going to be digging into that today. So I'm not going to stay too long on that. The last one that I want to talk about is a little bit about work-life integration. Now, we keep hearing about self-care, we hear about mental burnout, and we know that the responsibilities of running a business can be particularly challenging for women, especially for those who have caregiving roles or if they're taking care of children. And this leads to stress and burnout, impacting both personal well-being and business performance. Now, we also talk about the self-doubt and imposter syndrome. I'm not a big fan of it. I believe that, hey, if you are you, be the best you that you can be. And if you don't want to be an imposter, then just learn, open up the mind and get to growing, right? But this syndrome is leading to hesitance in pursuing opportunities or negotiating for better terms in their businesses. And this internal challenge can really hinder some people's confidence and ability to assert themselves in a competitive market. So, how do we deal with these things? Well, first off, if you're coming into the show, we want to welcome you. We're about to introduce two powerhouses in the game. To get this discussion going, I invited these amazing women who specialize in real estate and leadership coaching. This panel of CEOs are game changers, and they are here to show you how to get it done. First, I would like to introduce Lauren Morrison. From corporate climber to entrepreneurial high performance coach, Lauren has helped nearly 500 clients, including celebrities, executives, entrepreneurs, and influencers achieve higher earnings, successfully reach their how the beep, am I going to do this goal and scale their business? The next person that we're going to have on our panel today is none other than Sasha Vella. She's a full-time realtor, financial coach, and nonprofit founder dedicated to empowering others to build generational wealth. A mom and entrepreneur, she balances business and community work while championing mindset, resilience, and financial independence. Passionate about women's empowerment, she helps individuals and families take control of their future and create generational success. Please welcome to Business Weekly stage, Lauren and Sasha.
Oh, wow.
Ladies, how are you?
I just want one of these Sasha moments right now. That's what I want.
You're looking for the Sasha moment? Serve, girl.
I need more.
Serve the Bella. Yes, honey.
Serving. Yeah. Oh, there's a flick to it.
Giving.
There's a flick to it. Oh, I'm learning.
Are you satisfied, Miss Mo?
I'm satisfied.
I love it. Thank you, ladies, for joining me. These are my little sisters, y'all. These are my little sisters. I just watch the glow up every day. You know, I get a chance to tune in. I mean, Lauren is like childhood. Damn, raised this girl. Like, she's too cute. I mean, she's been a go-getter from as long as I've known her. And then I got to meet Sasha Vella while I was selling then I'm about to sell my last property. And here came this bubbly girl that I was introduced to by Monique. And the chapters were written. So tonight we're going to be talking some tea. What up, Surf Your Life? How you doing in the buildings? Let me tell you, I hope my ladies are coming through today, because I love the fact that we have women who are here doing the damn thing. Like, we watch, a lot of people go through business, and we've heard some big names in business, and you're looking at tomorrow's leaders, y'all. You're looking at two ladies who are going to dominate, and if not, have already dominated their industry and continue keeping it moving and serving all type of Bella. Yes, that's going to be known as the Bella now. Do the Bella. So how are you ladies doing?
I'm so well. I'm very happy to be here. I don't know. I feel like light and free and happy to be here after like a really long day of like coaching and listening and being intentional and present. Like, I'm happy to get to talk and be a little messy, I guess. Yeah.
Girl, so the mess, honey, I will wipe it up. The tea and the mess. As you know, Lauren's been going through some beef right now. I was letting the bangs after. Like, I'm gonna come put some hands on whoever's messing with my girl now.
I'm so happy to be here, guys. I was in a conference all day myself. We threw an event today for over 100 realtors. So when you're like planning something and then it's done. So this is like, I'm like, okay, let's do what I love. Get back to the
That's it. That's what it's about today. Today is real talk, unfiltered. Let's get it in. I always hear, when I thought about this show, I thought about you two immediately, because I said, I want two women who understand how to just serve real talk. Like, you know me, I'm great, inspirational story. Yeah. That's all great. But
whatever.
Right? It's all good. But the real talk, the real, facts happen when the chips are down. You know what I mean? And, it's something where, shout out to the sweet spot, shout out to Empressing. The ladies are in the building, coming in today. Georgie Porge is in the building. Yes, keep them coming. Ladies and gents, if you are on this, please note you can put your comments, put your questions. If you have questions for the ladies, please, I acknowledge all of them. We will answer every single one of them, right? But when I got into this part of the show, I really wanted to put out the reality check of some things, because I think, we are all coaches and we understand the struggle or the challenges that are coming. And so today I really want to focus on some of those pieces where we talk about finance, we talk about reality, we talk about pivot points, we're talking about all the things that people need to learn and do in order for their business to continue thriving or just begin to thrive. right? We have all been there. So let's get real about business struggles. Can you share a moment when your business hit a serious roadblock, and what was the first practical step you took to start turning things around?
Do you want to take it first, Sasha?
Rock, paper, scissors.
No, you go, because you had the idea. You go.
Yeah, you know what? I think a lot of the listeners and viewers are probably counting on me to share a story or to share an event, but and I'll try not to get emotional because I'm still navigating through this. But my roadblock, the block that hit the road for me, that really changed how I do business and made me reflect, was an emotion, actually, and it was mom guilt. The first time, mom guilt. That was a roadblock in my business as an entrepreneur. That was a roadblock that I had never encountered before. It was when I went full-time entrepreneur. It was during COVID. So my children didn't really see how hard I work because they're busy at school. But it's now when I'm on the computer and I'm grinding and I'm working, and now I'm a full-time entrepreneur. My partner has lost his job. I'm the sole provider in the home. Now I'm a single mom. I'm still the sole provider in my home. So it's like, at that time, when I first transitioned into full-time real estate, it was like we were pinching pennies for a bit, right? So it's like, how do I handle not feeling like I'm present enough, but feeling like I have to show up at every opportunity to make the ends meet? So that was a hard time for me to navigate through. What I did was I brought my children along with me. I showed them what I do for work. I showed them this is
that's so good.
And I started helping them understand like hard work equals such and such, right? And I remember bringing my daughter Jill. I remember bringing her to work with me, and I remember like employing her over the summer and putting her to work. Right? It's all good. She's my child.
Yeah, girl, don't be lying. You trying without child labor, but you painting a good picture though.
You know what I mean?
Tax write-off, right? Yeah.
You painting a really nice picture, making me want to get a no. No, those are facts.
But what was the result of that, right? Like my girl got a 5-diamond trip to Dominican Republic, right?
Yes.
And it was like, it was like the hard work will reap, right? What are our goals? What are her goals? What are my goals? Like, and sharing the goals with them, and then also showing them the pathway to get to those goals and the work that requires. So that alleviated some of it, because now she's cheering me on. She's like, Mom, don't you got a house to go sell? Like, we got to do, like, don't you go work, right? So, and I'm speaking to not just the moms, not just the dads, like you had mentioned, the caregivers, like whoever and whatever. If you have a spot that's like, you feel like you're not as present because you're working, because you're grinding, because you're building, because you have a legacy ahead of yourself, I still navigate through it. But I started saying no, and I built boundaries, because I started realizing saying no to certain things in business was saying yes to me. And I prioritize these 4 walls, my family and my kids. I prioritize those 4 walls. And I know that mommy's got to work. I got to, I got to make the bread. I got to make the money. But also, like, at what cost is that going to, cost my children? So creating boundaries really helped with that emotion, that guilt. I don't think I'll ever rid it in totality, but creating the boundaries and incorporating my kids along the journey of entrepreneurs. And my daughter wants to be a boss. Michelle, you met my daughter, so you know how she is.
She's destined. Young Diamond Society, baby. Let's go. You know what time it is.
Because she and it's such a great feeling to have those conversations at the kitchen table. We need to normalize the financial conversations. We also need to normalize the business conversations. My daughter's like, I want to make a business. I want to turn this into a business. I'm like, let's talk about it. Let's have a meeting. Let's talk about it.
Love it. Get the agenda together and get your notes going. Love it. Lauren,
amazing.
I know you never have issues. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen any, to be honest.
I think it's so
picking up and moving across the world, all that kind of stuff.
It's fine. Yeah, well, year 1 was tough for sure. But I just wanted to acknowledge, I love this idea of how do I lean into the thing that I don't know how to phrase it, but it's like, oh, my children feel separate from my business. How do I bring them together? And I think that was so powerful that, you bring your children in, because they learn so much from it. I know that because battling similar things, of course, you're just not as present. And, I had my children sit in this room and I'm like, help me plan out my strategy for the year, like, let me get your ideas in the room. Because when they feel part of something, then it just feels like more intentional, and they can give you more permission to be present for those things. So I thought that was awesome and beautiful. So in terms of me, when did I hit a wall? So we talk about this big leap that I made where it's like, hey, you're going to quit your 6-figure corporate job. And not only are you going to quit your 6-figure corporate job, you're going to move your family from Toronto to Los Angeles, and you're just going to like figure it out. And you're going to step into this brand new career.
That right there.
And it's like, that's not even the challenge, that's the idea. And you're going to start this brand new career. You're going to dip your toe into entrepreneurism and just kind of see where it takes you. And I just remember like sitting down in my office in Pickering, like before we were like just even thinking about this move and plotting it out like, okay, what would need to be true for me to feel successful? It's like, oh, well, I'd have to, have X amount of meetings of, clients booked to my calendar and this kind of thing. And I remember sitting down there and just being like, this is so unreasonable. This is so unreasonable that you would think that people will actually pay you to have a conversation with you and that you could fill a calendar with it enough that you can support your family. Silly. That's silly, Lauren. But try it anyways.
What were you thinking? Didn't I raise you better than that, Lauren?
Conversations are free. I don't know if you've heard, but anyways, that being said, fast forward to probably like 18 months into building my business. And I just remember coming into my office and crying because the calendar was so full, but it was full to an extent that I felt like I was drowning. So it was like I built the business of my dreams, and all the while I built a business that I hated. And that was like a crazy realization. Because what I was realizing was that I'm like, why do I hate this so much? You know what I mean? Like, why does this feel like so tight? And I genuinely believe like when it comes to burnout, it's never going to be about how much work you're doing. It's going to be about finding the areas of resentment in the work that you're doing. What I found that I was resenting was that I knew that I was filling my calendar up to a big extent because I wasn't placing boundaries and I wasn't placing a high enough value on my time. And I started to get curious about like, well, what would that look like if I did do that? What would it look like if I stopped, being so scared to say no to clients? And I just started really getting focused on like the kinds of clients I want to serve and who I want to align with and what I want to charge. And I'll tell you something. The first practical step I took was I started asking white men what they were charging in their business, white men, what they were charging as coaches. And it was so much more than me. And they weren't even like better or more qualified. They were just,
could you just say that one more time?
They weren't even better or more qualified.
Hope y'all listening out there.
Didn't tell themselves the same story that I was telling myself.
Right.
They didn't tell themselves that story.
No.
The story that I was telling myself is I can't raise my rates because, and I'm being honest here, I can't raise my rates because I'm serving women of color. Women of color don't have access to the income that is necessary to pay higher ticket coaching. Yeah. That's the story I told myself. And when I changed that story, when I challenged myself to start changing that story or start asking myself like, well, how do you know, Lauren? And once I started doing that, it was like, no, there's a whole bunch of, I used to not want to even call myself like an executive or leadership coach because I'm like, there's not enough women of color who are executives or leaderships to sustain a business that will feed my family. So I got to be for everybody. I gotta myself to the masses. And that for me was when I looked at it and it was just like, no, step back, because there are a lot of really powerful women of color that you can see who are CEOs, who are founders, who are executives. They may not be like part of your, that dominating the feeds, but they do exist. Right. So I started to not only have so once I started understanding, I'm like, what do white men charge? I'm going to charge that because I'm qualified enough. And because I have a belief that that women of color are at a place where they would invest in that. Mm-hmm. and then targeting, like just being more aligned with like who I want to serve and who I want to attract. That was like a big key thing for me. And just having the courage to say, this is what I'm worth. And I can understand if this isn't for you, but this is the value that I bring. This is the transformation I provide, and this is what it's worth. And I hired a sales coach actually to help me gain the confidence to actually say that number out loud multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And then I stacked my calendar with as many sales calls as I could just to get over the stutter.
How was your thought?
So it's this, but like if you can't do that, it's totally cool. We can figure something out.
All the lines around the fluff
you know?
that you put around it. Yeah,
exactly.
No, you're 100% right. And listening to you, both of you, you're knocking out the things that need to be said. Now, but you said something key, because I know people are going to climb on this self-worth, my worth. But you said something very key after that, to attract the people you want to serve.
Yes,
for the people in the back sweet spot. I saw Ian Coolin. I don't know if I'm saying the name right. Ian Coolin. Am I saying that right? Ian or Lion?
Ian.
Oh, that's a good way of spelling it. Ian, tell him. I like that you said that, because I think some people misunderstand the network comment. They think I'm worth $1 million, so I'm going to go out there and charge $1 million. And you know what? That's cool. You are worth $1 million, or whatever your bank account's telling you. But at the end of the day, it's what people like. It's the demographic. Who are you serving that can pay $1 million? And so that's why I'm glad you said that, because I try to course correct that a lot. Right? I'm undercharging my. No. Let's stop. There's something called a market segmentation. There's something called an avatar, and within those both, they have demographic, geographic, psychographic, and behavioral influences. This is just knowledge. So if you go to the hood and be trying to sell your $1 million net worth, you about to get robbed, honey, straight up for your net worth.
Well, that's huge, because you have to start saying, going back to what Sasha you were talking about. It's like, if I'm saying yes to this, what am I saying no to? And it's like, I am saying no to that. Maybe the kid, the 22-year-old coming out of college, trying to figure out her life, who could really get a lot of value from my services, but that's not my jam.
That's it.
Like my experience, my corporate experience, my leadership capabilities, etc. They lend themselves to a different demographic.
That's it.
And that different demographic, the price matches that demographic. So there are some people and that's why I do spend a lot of time, creating social media content, like having community things, because I do believe that the knowledge that I'm providing these senior leaders is amazing when it's accessed by people who are earlier on in their journey. And I want to provide it, but I won't be providing it at the cost of I won't be providing it with tears in my eyes, right?
And a can of tuna at the side.
And a can of just like,
you're out here trying to
do this.
Potatoes 50 different
I don't know.
ways.
What do you want to be when you grow up? I'm not sure.
And that's exactly the flip side is, I have a lot of business knowledge. I've been doing business for years and decades, but I choose to work with those who are trying to start up, because I understand the ground up approach. But it doesn't mean that the knowledge I'm giving you is worth what you're paying. It's my choice to help you out. And I think some people get that twisted. Like, well, Miss J, how come yours is so cheap? It's because I know you're gonna be broke. You can't show me a business plan, you can't show me a cash flow. You ain't got the kind of money if I was to charge you. Now it's a different story when I'm working with a corporation or an organization. Those numbers drastically change, right? And they drastically change. And I think that was where I had to, kind of figure out that tough decision in terms of who I wanted to serve. I'd spent 30 plus years in communities, and I've watched communities stay where they are because people like us left and they didn't come back. And so for me, I said I didn't want to leave my communities behind. I was born and raised in Jane and Finch. I claimed Jane Strip all day, right? But I could still walk into a counselor's office. I could walk into a mayor's office. I can walk, into any office in land and know I can hold my own and say, let's talk real business. So yeah, it takes that roadblock because it's like, I left that 6-figure job. I was pushing a Mercedes. I mean, I still push a luxury car, but I have to think twice. Like, if I'm working with people of this demographic, I have to consider, can I maintain the lifestyle that
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it takes that stuff where people think it's like, and I want this to be clear to everyone listening. The 3 people on the screen, we choose what we want to do. It's not that we are forced to do it because we are at the mercy of someone else. And so, I think I like a lot of entrepreneurs to be honest with themselves and understanding when you talk to us, come with some sense and the will to win. Because we finna give you the information, ain't a problem. But if it's just gonna fall on deaf ears and then I'm gonna hear about your struggle 3 weeks from now, then yeah, I'm about to charge you the 500.
We're not doing it.
We ain't just gonna do it. Like, we're not gonna do it. You know what I mean? Sasha, jump in. I know I see you. I see the thoughts running through your head, girl. Either that or you trying to stay awake. One of the two.
No, I can relate. And I think one part that we may not have touched on is just like, for me, for example, I do a lot of first-time home ownership, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I love to do resale. That's what I love to do. I love to do upsizing. I love to take, first time, second time, third time, and get them to upsize. Like, I like bringing them from the home I had to buy to get into the market to the white picket fence that I always dreamed of, right? And as I changed my branding and as I changed my messaging and as I changed what I needed to change to attract the avatar that I wanted, right? It was like, there was part of me that was like, am I turning my back?
Are you selling out?
Am I selling out, right?
Yeah.
Like,
are you selling out?
It's like the first time home buyer, but it was just like, I had to look at my goals and I had to look at what I provide as value, like Lauren had said. And I had to be like, I also had to realize, like, people need me at that price point too. Like, people need me up here too. You know what I mean? So it's like, just like my clients transition from that first home, like, I gotta transition too, right? But I did go through, like, I really had to lean on my support system and I really had to lean on like my mentors and my coaches. And they were just like, you're good. And they coached me through that transition, because there was a part of me that was like, because I think, and Michelle, you'll know more about this as you are the coach of business, but we have this, and women too, we have this, like, and I know this from my finance business when I'm coaching women, it's like we almost have this like duality sometimes with sales and selling people and feeling like we aren't deserving or
absolutely.
Right? So I had to let go of all that as I
Yes.
grew, and it literally, like, I shed it and I flew, right? So it's okay to outgrow who you came into business as, right? And it's almost a must.
100%. It's a must.
Have to continue to grow. So I had to like go through that. Am I selling out my old client, or am I just growing and continuing to add value at a higher price point to the people that need it there too? Right?
Yes. 1,000%. And you know what? That's 1,000% it. When I came into business full-time coaching, one of the things that I said, what I recognized was the financial literacy part. And the biggest part wasn't just about budgets, but I was beyond that. I said, there's half of them don't have insurance and half of them don't have investments. And at some point, you are going to retire from your own business. And at that point, you're hoping this business is fueling, your lifestyle is fueling your revenue base. But there was a gap that you could have, there's people have business 10, 15 years. And I'm like, what is your pension looking like? And they're like, what pension? What's your savings account looking like? What savings account? Contingency funds maybe for your business? What word's that? And it pushed me to go get my licenses. I'm like, okay, listen, well, if I'm going to help you, let me really help you, right? I could coach a business till it's blue in the face, but if you broke, I mean, we both want to be sitting here eating tuna, like, you know what I mean? So we better get it together. Right? Well, which leads us into the financial navigation. During the lean periods in your real estate or your coaching or leadership business, what specific strategies did you use to manage cash flow? Walk us through these pieces.
Go, Sasha. You have a better answer than me.
It starts with this.
You know what I realized though is like anything that starts with this is gonna be on point immediately.
The gems are
Garlic
dropping.
web tactic when I'm here for it.
I
The
had a
gems
double.
are dropping.
You know, I have this like tagline. So every year I have like a focus word. And I thought I went into the year with another word. I don't even remember what it was, but it's become preparation. And
Yes.
is always going to win. Like it's never going to be the fastest that wins the race. It's never going to be, you might be fast, but it's because you prepared. You know, you don't have to come, you know, the prettiest, like it's always going to be the most prepared. And I tell my agents this, I tell, you know, myself this, my kids this, I'm like, are you prepared? Like, you know, they have speed stacking in school now. Like it's just, it's like, you got to try out to be. It's like the cups you speed stack and you dismantle.
Oh, like minute to win it type of stuff.
It's in the schools, yeah, and like you got to try out and get on the team. So it's a whole thing, right?
What's a team?
It's a thing. Oh, all right. Don't you laugh. In case there are people who are speed stacking team.
The kids are okay. Let me tell you. So my daughter,
the pandemic has ruined us all.
I know. Just like I'm trying to park my bias right now. Just be like, oh, that's amazing. I'm glad.
But your face is saying,
people have found things.
So I'm like, okay, so how do we like prepare? Like, you know, like we don't like if it was soccer, we'd be like, let's go stretch, let's go practice, let's go. So I'm like, how do we do this? So I had to teach her like the whole methodology behind like preparation and how, you know, it'll win. So when it comes to like the cash flow and like preparing for down seasons and preparing to make it through, like, you know, as an entrepreneur, we don't get paid off of necessarily how hard we work. It's the results that are going to get us paid. Right. So, you know, first and foremost, and I teach my clients this in my financial agency as well, but it's cutting extra expenses, of course. Those subscriptions are going to get you every time. Okay. So I always tell my clients, like, we got to cut those. And I got to look at myself too. Like, you know, what am I spending extra on that I don't need to be spending? Because I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to tell you. I don't know if Scotiabank wants to like endorse me or whatever, but you are richer than you think. Like you are richer than you think. Okay.
I love that line.
Yes,
I think about it all the time.
I'm not an influencer, y'all.
I have to be richer than this. I know I am.
It's an affirmation as well, right? I'm going to share this because for the business owners, like I'm a big old, I won't reveal my age, but I'm like a grown woman and I give myself an allowance. And as a businesswoman too, it's great because example, Tim Hortons, example, grocery, example, whichever, whatever. I literally will get gift cards for certain places and I write those cards off, right? But I now have an allowance for certain areas of my life. Because when you understand that money is spiritual and the spending is psychological, you'll understand that you need to intercept and create boundaries and practices because it's the habits that are going to change your life. And we're often having addictions to people. Go through the drive-through, do this, do that. So a lot of us are richer than we think. I just want to say that first and foremost. And then creating obviously multiple income streams. I am a realtor, right? But I do public speaking. I obviously have my financial agency. I've been able to monetize my brand and who I am, right? And we'll talk about it a little later, I'm sure. But I have, when you come to my page, you can buy a product right away. There's a digital product that you can buy right away. You know, you can,
Sandra.
whatever. So I'll just say this, I haven't put all my eggs into one basket. So when the real estate business isn't, maybe I'm not doing the 3 deals a month that I aim to do. Maybe it's 1, or maybe I had a month with no deals, right? It's like, okay, I know that I'm making smart choices with my spending, right? And then I'm also prepared for this with that. And then also it's literally like I have other income streams and ways to make digital income as well. So that's just me keeping it real.
Girl, I mean, you're talking about expenses versus investments. And investments don't always mean bank account. It means what you're putting your time into as well, right? So that was some gems. Hit the replay on that, y'all.
All right.
And become a speed cup person. Monetize it. Revenue.
It's much better than my answer.
Stack these cups.
My answer was just going to be cry. Like
I do that too.
In those down times, just cry.
Cry.
Just cry. Sit
Cry
cross-legged
already.
and be like, please, someone, auntie, someone. Why don't I have those relatives? Like,
What?
I think
You
about
swear
that
back.
often. Who's going to die that's going to leave me anything? No one? So it's just me? I got to figure this out. But
That's
it's hard.
it.
Yeah.
100%.
I cry and absolutely identify with the diversifying. That's one thing that I did in my business as well, is ensuring that I had diverse streams of revenue, especially as I was building. I was building up clientele, because that's new for me and I'm building credibility. How can I have a source of revenue that is hunting business for me and I just have to show up and deliver? So definitely that part. I think that, when it comes to what has been challenging for me is starting a business at the same time I'm starting a new life.
That's it.
Because starting a new life, especially because I had the goal of coming to California and not degrading the life that my children have come to know all their lives.
Yeah.
So that was big for me, because I didn't want, my big fear was that I was going to leave my job, come here, start something new. And then I was going to, it was going to be like the worst mistake. Like I would degrade their lifestyle. Because they had such a great lifestyle in Ontario, a house and a neighborhood and their own bedrooms, and there was a pool and like TVs and all that kind of stuff. And it was like, I was so scared to degrade that. So making sure that it was balancing where do you invest in your business to grow it, and where do you prioritize getting back to where you were before, getting your lifestyle back to what it was before you upended it. So I think that has always been a challenge to navigate, because sometimes I kind of wish that I would have started this business when I was when things were steady, when I didn't have like first time investments. I wasn't buying cars and I wasn't buying houses and I wasn't like buying landscaping and all that kind of stuff, because then it would just clear like, oh, you got $10,000, put it into your business, but now it's like there's this constant tug of war of like, okay, you got $50,000, where does it go? And that's been the challenge. So I would say like in lean now, I'm grateful because I'm starting to understand the ebbs and flows. Like it takes a while to even know like what's a slow season, versus like when is it like, hey, you should be really concerned because this isn't normal. But even in
why is the TV glitching?
Right. But even in that's the thing. It's like even as an entrepreneur, like, and I'm a coach, so I get it. I know, I understand the mindsets, you need to have resilience. There are slow seasons. You need to embrace it. I know all this stuff. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to cry when it's happening, right? Like that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be worried when it's happening. That doesn't mean like when I'm coaching my clients and they're like, what if I've peaked? I'm like, bitch, me too. What if I peaked? What if I don't come out of this?
Oh, you will, because I will come there and kick your ass out.
Right.
Ain't nobody got time with that. Listen to all of that.
So even like, I would even say, I know for me, like always a downtime, a place where cash flow is really, really tight is usually like Christmas to, I would even not even say Christmas, like, Christmas to like mid-February, because that's a time when it's like people are just like trying to figure things out, trying to do things for themselves, trying to stabilize, trying to recover from all the spending that they've done. And that's usually a downturn in the business. And that's where things get really tight. And so things that I've had to do to accommodate, one is know that it's coming. So I'll be like, hey, CFO, I'm putting like 20K, don't touch it. Don't get fancy eyes about it. It's not yours.
The carpets do not need to be changed
today.
We're gonna sit on this road for a hot minute.
It's gotta last. Okay.
Get yourself a shark.
But the other thing that I've had to do is like get creative even with like generating revenue. finding new ways to generate revenue, finding new revenue streams, offering promotions, offering like discounts, offering special things. Anything that I can do in order to make up for some of that cash flow so that I can continue to invest in my business. Because the unfortunate thing about adulting is that everything is tens of thousands of dollars. Just everything.
Especially if you adult the way we adult.
Yeah.
Right. Like I will not. I'm so sorry. There is nothing less than 5 stars in whatever I do, wherever I go. Yeah. You could call me bougie, honey. You could call me. My girl circle says it all the time.
What you want? Trees in the backyard? That's tens of thousands.
That's what I'm saying.
You want rocks right here? That's tens of thousands.
You want a deck? Girl,
yeah. Do you want to pay for a marketing specialist to come in and help you to hone your brand? That's tens of thousands. It's like everything is tens of thousands.
Yes.
So when you get your mind wrapped around that concept, then you can start to say then you can start to generate some of that creativity. And I think about this often where it's like generating money isn't like managing cash flow isn't always about cutting back. It's about making sure you don't lose that creativity that helps you to expand. Yeah. Because I think that's how I know that, Chris gets into that mindset very much where it's like, we're tight, we got to cut back. And I'm like, give me the number so I can go make it. Tell me what the number is and I will go make it. Because it's not always about reserving. It can be about expanding. So I try to keep that mindset in those periods where cash flow is tight, where it's not just about the bottom line, but it's about the top line too. So what can I do to drive that top line? What calls do I need to make? What emails do I need to send? What promotion do I need to put out? Yeah. Give me the number. I'll go make it.
Yeah, but you see it, and both of you are hitting. See why I have y'all on the show? I hope y'all are taking notes out there, right? Yes, Empressing, dropping some great tidbits. If you're just logging in, welcome to Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. You're sitting here with 2 of the game changers in their respective fields. Lauren Morrison, leadership and executive coach, and Sasha Vella, real estate mogul, financial coach, speaker. Like, this girl does it all. And she takes great pictures. Like, we all love Sasha Vella's feed. Like, it's just legit real. It comes through. I don't know where she get the time. I try to put on makeup to do a story. I'm tired. I take it off. I go to my bed. I'm like, whoever loves me is gonna have to love me as I am. But I feel you, girl. We just dropping some tips on the real talk of women in business. Now you're hearing it here because I want you to understand, especially those who I coach and I've coached, or you've always known that at the end of the day, it's on you. It's on you. And if you hear what these ladies are saying, when times get tough, they don't shrink, they grow. They don't regress, they progress, right? The progression is there. And most importantly, they understand, and this is something that I am a firm believer in. We don't quit, because you only fail when you quit. Mm-hmm. If you're pivoting, it's a whole different ballgame. People think pivoting is failing. It's not. It's a resilience piece. And this is where I want to talk a little bit here about how you're maintaining this resilience, especially when the deals aren't closing, the clients aren't coming in. What's your personal practice for pushing through those doubt-filled days?
Yeah, Lauren, go ahead.
I was going to say, because I remember when you sent me this question in advance and you were like, how do you maintain confidence? And the thing that came to my mind is like, I don't. I actually don't maintain confidence. Mm-hmm. I don't rely on confidence. I rely on commitment in those moments. Because confidence, like that's a shaky bird. Especially in those downtimes, because there's a lot to question. And as much as you want to like self-talk yourself and affirm yourself and be like, don't worry, you're great, you'll figure it out, you always do. It's like, bitch, what if you don't? So
Dollarama, you better be up and running.
But in those times, it's leading with the commitment where it's like, it doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter whether or not you think people will sign up. It doesn't matter whether or not you think you're worthy. Do the thing.
Do the damn thing.
Do the
damn thing.
Give a shit how you feel. If you're confident, if you're in your skin, if you're not, doesn't matter. Do the thing. And then do the thing continuously until eventually you can earn that confidence because things are happening for you again, right?
Yes.
So I will say that it is very much knowing that I understand now that it's a process. So when I get into these moments of like dark times and lack of confidence, though they feel hard, I also recognize that it is part of the process. It is part of the path that I have chosen. And I remind myself of that. It's like, you chose to be here.
Yeah.
You chose to leave the security of a biweekly paycheck to pursue passion. This is the cost of it. This uncertainty, this self-doubt, it is not an indication of your capability. It is the price of the path that you have chosen. So it's normal. Feel shitty about it, but keep walking through it, because that's the only way out. Back to what you said before, it's just through. And if you rely on confidence to propel you, you're going to be, it's not impossible, but it's going to be difficult because confidence wavers. But
it's like momentum, right? When people are like, I lost the momentum, sweetie, that's, you based the whole thing on the wrong thing. It's discipline. It's showing up when you don't want to show up.
When you
It's
don't
getting
want
out of
to
bed when you don't want to get out of bed. It's turning off that TV when you're in the midst of your favorite show, or you're like, it's saying, "No, I gotta go and hustle." Like,
do you think the corporation that you're working for is banking on you showing up for work when you feel like it? No.
There's a whole HR
driving,
for that, honey.
the only reason your corporation is making money is because you are showing up to work when you don't want to. That's the only reason why this corporation is making money.
People in the back.
It's because you are showing up for work on the days when you don't want to.
Yeah.
So that's how you got to treat your own business. And if you're relying on confidence and motivation and feeling good because that's what you signed up for, then that's cool, but you're not going to make money.
100%. And you know what? And this goes to the pivot. I want Sasha to talk a little bit about the pivot. Sasha has pivoted a lot in her career. When I first met her, she wanted to save the world. She said, Ms. J, I remember our first session, she was like, and I'm gonna do this, and I was just like, okay, girl, we gonna take a minute, let's take a breath, and we're just gonna pivot a little bit, right? Because, you know, she was in that place where she wanted to save everybody. And we know that sometimes survival requires reinvention. And I think that was one of the things that I saw in Sasha, that she stopped and she had to take a minute to breathe and reflect. Share a time when you had to significantly pivot your business model. Like, what were some of the signals that you saw that how to change, that change was needed, and how did you execute that?
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that, because I remember those times. I want to piggyback something you were saying. I was holding it in, but it's a good gem. We have to, just based off of the conversation what we were just speaking about. Yeah. We have to go with our plan, not our mood. And motivation is so temporary. I hate when people come and hear me speak and they're like, "You're so motivated." I'm so motivated. I'm like, okay, well, you got to find a way to move that to elevation, because the motivation is just temporary. I actually own that, and I can take it away. So if I'm putting that in you, I could remove it. So that's not gonna last. And just to kind of give a little tidbit, I recognize myself when I'm like waking up in a slum, and it's okay. Like, maybe it's the time of the month, maybe it's the day, maybe I literally woke up on the.
We're still women.
It's what it is. My mom would say,
kids, and I'm still a mom. Like, I'm still like looking at the side of my eyes. Shut the door. I'm in a meeting. Like, shut the door. We do not need to eat right now.
I'm expecting a guest appearance anytime now, so don't worry. But it's like I start to recognize it, and I literally have conversations with myself. Like, nope, we're not doing that today. We ain't gonna do that. Like, get in the shower, try it out, and get back to it.
Put on the deodorant and smile.
Then also some days I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna stay in my bed and we're gonna cry it out, and we're gonna get back to it tomorrow. And some days I only give 40%, but that's all I had. So it's 100%. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to just give yourself some grace sometimes, but don't quit on yourself, because it is truly the only way you could fail. But when it comes to the pivot, I'm so different from when we met. So I remember one time just sitting in your kitchen table and telling you about my personal story. And this is after like months of you coaching me, months of us getting to know each other. And you're there like,
yeah,
where was this the whole time? Like, that's who you are. That's what you've been through. That's what's going on. We're like here. She's like, because Michelle knows everything. Like, I don't know if you know, like, she's my big sister, and I just know she knows. She's just like, I was waiting for this. And she's just like, that is crazy. I was waiting for this version.
I need to see Sasha Vella, honey. And she came through that night.
So when I started, so I used to think I got to show up perfect online. I got to be prim and proper. I want to service everybody. I think that was one of our biggest obstacles, or my mind, it could not wrap around that I can't serve everybody.
Mhm.
Yes.
So you have to present your avatar. We went through this business plan. I'm like, I'm gonna skip these pages. Everybody, you're spreading yourself thin. She's like, you're spreading yourself thin. And like, it's like you're giving fertilizer to the whole lawn when you only have enough for a section. So you're not going to bear fruit, right? Everyone's going to get a little, and they're going to have a limitation of what they can receive. But I'm like, no, everyone's going to grow up. Everyone's going to do it. I'm going to save the world. And she's just like, I love that. Come back when you're ready. So what happened for me in the pivot, and I really want whoever's listening to get uncomfortable with this, because it was uncomfortable for me. And I want them to lean into it, because that's where the growth is. I had to share my story. I had to be vulnerable. I had to talk about what I've been through, what I went through, what's formed me, what shaped me, how God created me and what he brought me through, and who and why my purpose is here. The story is long. Go on my page, you'll see it. But that pivot for me allowed my business to finally take off, because I was like, shackles are off. This is who I am. And what happened was I started to build a community, and I started to build a tribe. So if you're scared that what you have to share is going to scare people, it's going to bring the people to you that want you, that
need you. Need you. Yes.
And the relatability might not be the same. Listen, I grew up, my mom was an addict. I grew up in the system before I was adopted. I grew up with white parents. I went through it, right? You probably don't have the same story, but listen, my resilience, my perseverance, my vulnerability, you're going to connect to those certain things, and that's going to probably help you, or you're going to want to support me. So the pivot in that, what happened now is I've built a community, and I've built a brand about me. And the pivot, it's not just Sasha Vella Realty. It's not just, Sasha Vella Coaching. It's not just Sasha Vella Finances. It's Sasha Vella. And I am me. I am my brand. So now I've been so tender, loving, and caring with this community, and vulnerable with this community that I've built in my tribe, that I could sell them this bottle of water because they love me, they trust me, they know me. And they're like, okay, I rock with you. What is it? What is it? I don't even know. Rip off just here you go. I'll buy it, Sasha.
Listen,
so
give me the cap. I'm there. Yeah.
Rebranding was essential, but also I had to pivot and protect the branding and protect the community. And you won't see me just everywhere and anywhere. I had to set out the certain questions the boxes that need to be checked if I'm going to do a brand deal, if I'm going to be on your live, if I'm going to do an interview, if I'm going to be on your Grace Your Stage, if I'm going to put my logo on your branding, if I'm going to be an ambassador, like it's got to align with the vision and be okay for my community as well. Like for me to validate to my community or confirm to my community, because they're going to buy it and I got to confirm it. Right? So that pivot was major, being vulnerable and then building that community. And now I'm protecting it.
Well, it's so beautiful. And it just goes to show, like, again, there's so many people, Sasha, who do what you do, but it's like, and a lot of people get in their head around like, oh, well, I can't be a financial coach. I can't be a real estate agent because there's so many of them. It's so saturated, but it's like, yeah, but the people who are differentiating themselves, who are rising to the top, they're not trying to connect to people based on what they do. They're trying to connect to people based on who they are and why they do it. And establishing that personal brand, because, now we're in this era where like people are more interested in the founder than they are the business, right?
Like they're interested in watching you type fake crap.
Exactly. Elon Musk has more followers than Tesla. Not a great example today, but whatever. You understand what I'm saying? But it's the courage to build that personal brand, because that is your market differentiator, and no one can take that from you. There's so many people who do what you do, but it's like, but it's because you are vulnerable, because you share because you share so much of yourself, that people are just like, I identify with why she's doing it.
Right there.
And she makes me feel. She
That's
makes
it.
me feel powerful. She makes me feel
Mhm.
smart. She makes me feel seen.
Well, that's
So
because they see themselves in you,
exactly.
right? And that's why I think you can coach your business is for everybody, but it's not for everybody
Exactly.
because of who you are. Like Lauren's the total opposite of you. Lauren
Yeah.
been telling her story. Lauren has no qualms going on there saying, yeah, I haven't worked out in 65 days. I have a gut and now I gotta go and work it out. Like she is the level of honesty I have to rate her for, because me, I'm trying to put big tops on and tell me, but she's she's authentic like that. And I think that's why I love the two of you for who you are, because at the end of the day, you all are connecting with people with your heart. It's not about the bag all the time. And you know what I mean? Like I tell people, listen, don't worry about paying. Just come, show up. Just show up. Like, don't worry about the rest of that. That will come. I'm gonna make my million off you at some point, because I believe you have the potential, right? But there's people who will not coach with me because I'm very honest and forthright. I don't have time for the bullshit, right? Because you're telling me you want to win, but you don't want to get out of your bed. You're telling me you want to win, but you don't want to show up on the screen. You're telling me you want to win, and you're liking Sasha Vella, you're liking Lauren Morrison, but you have to understand these women get out their bed every single day, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, to get it done.
Hey.
Right? So if you want to win, don't look at what they're posting. Look at how much times they're posting. Because, dude, I got to go to Georgia. I listen, COC Social has to save me every single time. I will put up some dead post and she'd be like, what are you doing? I said, girl, ain't nobody got time for this. You have to miss me with all of this social. Right? But she says, you better get your hair on. You better go stand up in front of this camera and say some things. You better put that camera over there and tape something and send it to me.
You gotta go get your hair on.
I'm like, I'm gonna be real about it. What am I looking like today? You know what I mean? I got my girl yelling at me at the side, texting me like, girl, get your ass back in the house and go put on your
right.
I'm not camera.
I don't have eyelashes.
You go through it. But if you want, like, where we are in our lives and where we are in our businesses, like I have come out of a full-time job and is making what I made in my full-time job. Right. And at the end of the day, it's like you just have to remind yourself why you are there. And if you're doing it for vanity metrics, stop, give up, go find a full-time job, and then pose off on Instagram. But if you're really looking to build an empire, a legacy, y'all know what time it is. You just got to put in the work. I mean, sometimes the wig be on backward when I come downstairs for a session, but it's all good because I showed up.
I heard that's so good. I heard something today and it was like, we have to let go of the recognize me content. It's not recognize me, it's recommend me. Like what are you posting to be like recommended, not recognized, right? It's recognized as the expert, but it's like that what you were saying in terms of the like the vein and like the like we see through it. Like it's why am I going to recommend you? Not just recognize you. Okay, I see you everywhere you're doing it, but like why am I going to recommend you? So we have to utilize the recommendation over the recognition.
Ian says if you want to win in the game, you need to have skin in the game. Big. That's a mic.
Like Ian's like paraphrasing things that I've said and been like, God damn it, why didn't I say that? Like, giving me a complex. Stop commenting.
There's that confidence thing again.
Giving me an inner complex.
It's like, okay, there's always better. Stacking cups, Elle. Like, I mean, you're competitive.
It's just like chat GPTing all of our conversations. It's like, forget all that noise. Here's the line.
Here's the line. Here is the line. We are coming down to the end of the show, and I know my producer said I could go overtime, but I can't because I do have an event to head to. But I want us to end off on the Phoenix Rising. Looking back at your biggest business challenges, what was the key lesson you learned that not only helped you to survive, but to ultimately thrive?
Can I go first?
Yep, for sure.
I used to have an expectation that the next thing I did was going to be the thing that I did, in the sense of like, I was going to launch this course and then I was going to be a millionaire. I was going to do this podcast and I was going to be everywhere. I was going to put up this post and I was going to go viral. And that is so hurtful to the soul when it doesn't happen, especially when you have
Lauren, I hate you on all levels today.
when you have built your identity
Oh,
around
gosh.
being a high achiever, a straight A student, you want everything you do to be the thing. And it's like what I have had to shift and what has gotten me through my Phoenix rising is letting go that there is such a thing as the thing. There's only the next thing.
Yep.
Because the thing, but stop putting so much pressure on something, because you may get everything you want and you may get sorely disappointed.
Yes.
If you keep relying on the thing you do to be the thing, it's going to lower your resilience. You're going to feel like a failure more often versus if you're just like, it's just the next thing. I don't know where this is going to go. It's just the next thing I do. And it may be amazing. It may not be, but it doesn't matter because it's just the next thing and it's going to teach me something.
That's it.
So there's no the thing. There's only the next thing.
You grow through what you go through. Talk to them, Sash. Let the Phoenix out. Let them know what's up.
I love that. So for me, it's all that and some. Like, that's so good. Ian, we're looking for the chat GBT version.
I did it myself, Ian. You didn't need to summarize it. I got it down to 3 words.
I need to get Ian to come out and produce my show. Just give me banger lines.
It's like the own, like, yeah.
Sponsored by Shani in the building, photographer extraordinaire. Go girl.
So for me, it's like challenges. So your results are in your mindset. Okay. So how you think is ultimately how you're going to show up. So what I constantly think is, and really it's embedded in my mind, is that your setbacks are for your setup. Like you set back to set up, right? And challenges are, disguised as opportunities. So we are going to, like, the failure, we have to fail forward. I often say this, like, if I was to put my resume of success in front of everybody and I listed it off and we went through it, it'd be like, girl, you got it together. That's amazing. That's awesome. And I'm proud of it. I'm not going to lie. Right. But if I was to put my resume of failures, it's like 18 times longer. It's the list, right? But guess what the catch-22 is? I'm way more prouder of those failures because I had to get like 20 of those for every success, right? So when you switch up your mindset, like, oh, all right, cool. Every failure, I'm getting closer to the next thing, not the thing, but the next thing before the next thing. And just like I had to learn to walk to run, I'm learning to fail to, like, this part to grow to this
fly, honey.
To fly. So I think it's just, and I've even done the math sometimes, like if I want to convert a certain type of lead into a sale or whatever the plan is, the goal is, like, how many calls have I made or how many attempts did I make before I succeeded at it, right? So I'm reviewing my analytics and I'm saying, okay, cool. So now I get excited. If it takes 5 calls to get that one or 10 to get that one, I'm like, okay, I got to 5 9 times. I got to fail 9. Sorry. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm only on failure 6. Like, they said no.
It takes the sting out of it. Yeah.
You are always going to show up how you think. So get a positive mindset, and there's some things that we can't control, but when you start to, move in a way that you're always winning and every setback is a setup and every time you fail, you're moving forward and that next thing is coming and it's all within reach. It's just coming on God's time. You will start to realize, like, how beautiful life is and how beautiful these lessons are and how beautiful this growth is and how beautiful the progress is. And you'll start to each step, even when you trip, even when you're like, "Ooh, this is ugly. This hurts. I'm bleeding," like whatever, you'll heal better, you'll grow faster, and you'll get to the next thing.
Let me tell you something, y'all. Can we just give it up to these 2 ladies right here? Yes, we can. I want to thank you. And they'll be back in different capacity, but they will be back. You see, I know people who know people who know people. Okay.
I have an in between.
What is that?
I don't have an in between. Just
People who know people who know people. I say that to say this, ladies, you have been an inspiration to watch and continue to be an inspiration to those who are watching you. Just remind yourself you are here to serve because that's what your talent was born to you to do. And when you remember that, you'll always remember to stay humble, stay hungry, and stay woke. To all my ladies, we're going to end off the show together. I'm not even going to send you guys off. I want you to stay on as we end off the show. To all the people who are watching, thank you for coming in. If you're just coming in, please subscribe to Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio on YouTube. Go to Love Bay Radio on YouTube, subscribe. This will be up. This will be also on my website, empirebydesign.ca, under Business Weekly. If you've missed any of the episodes, they're all there. I only bring on the people who are making change. I don't bring on talkers. I bring on doers. Why? Because I'm a firm believer that when you do, you can only role model the best practices for what you're going to succeed in. And you ladies have superseded the expectations that have been placed upon you in life, the challenges that come against you, and know that you all got your big sis here to support and to push you continuously in these skies. As for the rest of you, remind yourself that being a CEO doesn't mean you're just a boss. It means that you're building operational and sustainable systems while you build your DRIP, which is your drive, resilience, innovation, and progression. When you remind yourself each and every day who you are, you will be better at what you do. And as we say, put your head in the skies, and for my girls, spread your wings, and let's keep flying. My name is Miss J, your hostess with the mostest, drip strategist and boss methodologist right here on Afrobeat. I keep saying Afrobeat, and I gotta stop saying that. Love Bay, Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. I hope to see you next week where we have a dynamic show coming up in regards to a movie called The Life Coach that is launching. It is already winning awards, and you will be meeting the cast next week right here on Business Weekly. To all my viewers, please keep continuing to support the ladies, the men, everyone that I bring here on this show. I want you to make sure you're following them. So follow Lauren Morrison online. Go to Sasha Vella's page, follow her online. Make sure your people are following her people. Make sure your communities are connecting because it's the only way we're about to take over the world. My name is Miss J, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. And as always, keep your drip strong. Take care.